Well, Neil Gornflow, and man, you're the founder, the starter, the genius, the everything behind Shareable.net. And you've been talking about the shared economy for what, almost 10 years now
I know, right?
before anybody knew how to spell it. And you've been doing this. So why did you start this venture to educate the rest of us stupid people who don't realize the advantage of this stuff?
Well, I started it because I wanted a better life for myself, and I just thought it would be more fun, and I could save a lot of money, and it would also be green, and save resources and be better for the planet and society. So that's why I did it. I mean, but the first impulse was really like that it was better for me, and
Ah, so you're
and
greedy after all, huh?
yeah, exactly. You know.
Selfish, greedy person.
Sure, I mean it's got to work for you. It's got to work for you too, you know? It's and that's the cool thing about sharing is you feel, you know, you get immediate impact. You know, you meet people, it's fun, it's social, and then you can save a ton of cash at the same time.
Like what? What's an example like we don't think of normally about sharing where we could save a bunch of dough by just sharing it with people?
Oh yeah, a ton. Well, I did this thing, Matthew, where called the Year of Living Shareably. So I did a year-long sharing life experiment where, where I tried 30 different sharing services or uh, patterns, and I saved $17,000. My family saved $17,000 in 1 year.
Wow. Well, now that's the thing. How to save $17,000 in 1 year and not change your lifestyle, right?
Yeah. Well, you're changing it a little bit. You are doing things a little bit different way. For instance, one of the ways we saved a lot of money was instead of using commercial childcare, we did a childcare co-op in our own home, and had a couple families do it with us, and that saved us around $10,000 alone, and our nanny that we hired, they made more money than they would if they were just with one family.
I see. Wow. So you were able to share that. Actually, I just saw who's the guy who used to own AOL? He just invested
Oh yeah,
Steve
Steve
K.
Case,
Yeah,
right?
he just invested in some new app, millions of dollars that does something about sharing nannies or whatever it is, keeping up on your housework people or whatever. So again, you're way ahead of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Case, the AOL guy, right? He was an investor in Zipcar, and maybe still is, right? And that's what's happened is people have taken that Zipcar model and applied it to all different types of assets and things. So people can share homes and rides and clothing and you name it. I mean, it's just um, even workspace and retail store space. So the list of things that can be shared through these services is growing and growing.
Right. Well, I mean, when you say talking about saving $17,000, I mean that has to get your attention. Why go out and try to figure out how to make 17 more $1,000 when you
Right,
can sit
yeah, exactly. Why work harder? You can do
right.
things in just a slightly different way that doesn't require much more work. And save a ton of cash. And for instance, like one of the things that I did is I got rid of a car,
Oh,
and so we went from a two-car family to a one-car family, and my wife needed to still commute, so she had the car, and then I used public transportation, my bicycle, car sharing, and ride sharing to get around, and that saved me a few thousand. That saved me like $3,000 or $4,000 alone.
well, I mean, I've read data like 80% of our car time we don't use. So we got this thing with this asset we're not using 80% of the time. That's nonsense.
Yeah, for the average home, Matthew, like it's the second highest household expense. So you have these idle assets, they're just sitting there. It's either you can get rid of one of them and use other services to fill in the gap, or you can Now with services like relay rides and get around, you can rent your car to your neighbor and
Ah, yeah.
earn extra cash.
So I think that's what's the key now is technology has made this possible. I mean, we shared lawnmowers, in the past and things like that, in occasion. But now, the guy across town, it's easy to share with, or even another country or, or whatever, because and then plus who's willing to share because everybody's on that website, right?
Yeah, exactly. Um, they also have things like ratings and reviews, so and a
Ah, yeah.
profile, so you kind of know
Ah,
who you have choice about who
yeah.
you share with,
Right.
and you obviously you want to share with people that you can trust the
Right.
most, and this gives you a kind of a head start. The sites do.
Yeah.
It gives you some
That's
security.
true because
There's some
everybody's vented that goes on these sites, so you sort of know, and they're if they've done it before, they get reviewed automatically. Your asshole neighbor, you never. You're the only one who knows he's an idiot.
Yeah, and these sites have the scheduling and the billing and insurance. So it gives you a kind of a whole system to make it easy, fun, and practical to do.
No, it seems like the technology has taken out all the drudgery of that which we'd have to go. I mean, without that, we'd be knocking on doors all over the neighborhood asking, "Hey, is your car free tomorrow at 2?"
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that's really cool, and what people come for the savings, Matthew. They may have an economic need, like, oh, geez, I need to save some money.
Right.
Things are tight. I'm between jobs, whatever the situation. But what they find is that it's really a much more fun way to do things
Ah,
than to go to a big
yeah.
corporation where you're dealing with someone that's like following a script, and it's all very
I'm
pat and
human.
boring, right?
Well, I think that's the other thing too is that we're really becoming more connected that way instead of going to some big brother who's faceless or whatever, like Comcast. They're just
Oh
dreadful
yeah,
people
like Comcast. Like everyone around here hates Comcast,
Oh
believe.
man, I do too. And I guess because they have a monopoly or whatever, they could get away with treating people badly. But you can't on these sites because, man, that flag goes up and you're not going to do anything anymore.
Right. So I rent a car from my neighbor Peg Powell down the street. I ride my bike down there. We
Ah,
chat a little bit.
right.
I put my bike in her garage, and then I take her car. But if I wreck her car, or if I'm late, or if I leave it dirty, she's going to leave a review, and
Exactly.
then I'm not going to then people trust me in the
Right.
system. Then I lose access
Right.
to the assets in that community.
It's like telling your mother you don't want your mother to know.
Well, yeah, exactly, right? It's like big mother, big brother, right? But yeah, I think it's a very healthy level of accountability, though, right?
Oh, it is to an individual, not to some corporation. I don't feel accountable to Comcast.
Yeah, yeah, and me either. Yeah, and if you do good, then people want to
Yeah.
help you. So
Okay.
yeah.
No, I think it's great. So your site now is really the place to go to find out anything you want to know about this phenomenon that's going on in our country and the world. It's not only us, right?
Yeah, so shareable.net, and Shareable is a nonprofit. Our mission is to empower
Ah,
everyone to share,
right.
and we do we do our publishing, and we have our new book. So our new
Oh,
book out.
share or die. That's right. And I think that's apropos. And you could down or read it for free on the website, or you could buy it in hard copy
Yeah,
if
I
you
mean it's
want.
on
Right.
Amazon, but it's also for every story in this anthology is on our site
Yeah.
as well. And then the other thing we do to help people share and achieve our mission is we do community organizing. So and convening locally. We're building a sharing movement, and we want to by the end of 2015 we want to have launched 100 local sharing movements in cities around the world.
Oh, really? Well, that's wonderful. So if I'm interested in getting involved in this movement, really is your site and really how to start a sharing community in my neighborhood if we don't have anything like that,
Yeah,
right?
that's the
Yeah.
idea. We think that every community can become a sharing
Right.
community or a sharing city, and our first step is to connect the people that are already sharing
Right.
to each other and the kind of leaders that are already there, and then build movements locally from that.
Well, wonderful. Well, Neil, I'm so glad you're there. You're going to get rid of all this junk I have in the house. Because the more junk I have, the more I have to worry about my junk. And I'd rather share other people's and let them worry about it, and I just use it. And it's shareable.net, ShareAble.net. See, I
Yes,
spell
sir.
all
You
the
got
time.
it, Matthew.
Thank you so much, Neil.
Thank you, Matthew.